Welcome along to another video on F1 Union, where today we are here for round 7 of the season. It is the Qatar Grand Prix, where we're heading out then for qualifying to begin our first run. And if you caught last week's race, you'll know we're slightly on the back foot after that disconnect in Saudi. So we head here to Qatar, trying to get back on form as we begin our first run then. So blasting down to 70% and putting it into none, heading into turn 1 then, slight lift before diving it into gear 4 and on the power into medium, into turn 2, the complete opposite now, into 4 on the left, on the power, blast to 70% again just before straight mode as we're in none and heading into this very tight and twisty 2 right-handers, very easy to invalidate on the inside and exit as we finish the first set split. Medium, back to none, 30.5 into the hairpin, gear 2, which has been used a lot more with these cars compared to the previous ones. As we head into the right-hander, and the car just doesn't really want to turn in, it kind of just bogs out wide, and that's lost us some time. So in our other 2 runs we'll have to try and improve there. But carrying on then, darting left on the power, so important to get this exit right, as we're going to blast down to about 45% and put it back into medium through these 3 long flat right-handers. Middle set to split 57.9. I believe bankers were around a 0.4ish, and then we made our way to 3s and 2s. But as we've blasted all our battery, 1 corner to go then, you want to obviously hug the inside line, not run too wide, and on the power, blast to the line with the straight mode, and our first run of the session will be a 1 minute 22.6. So yeah, not an amazing banker compared to what I was doing in practice, but it's good. Put us 3rd for now, as then we dropped to 4th with Dan going ahead of us. But now we begin our second run then, trying to improve on our first. And yeah, I think the best time I was doing overall in practice was some good 0.2s and maybe low 3s. So that is the target as we dive it into turn 1 then. And well, the first sector on the first run was pretty okay, so we've run a little wide there, but we're practically even on our time on the power, on the battery again. And yeah, it's like only 100th between us and our previous run. Darting it in on the inside is a little bit better. We found a bit more time, and on the exit we're up slightly in the first sector, but we know where the time is. It is the corner coming up after the hairpin, as we just have to lift a little, let the car do the work slightly, and on the apex get back on the power. And we actually lost quite a bit of time heading into that corner, but we've managed to find a bit of time on the exit, but actually not as much as I was thinking we would. And as we exit this left-hander, we realised that we're not actually up by as much as we thought. I thought it would be about 2 odd tenths, but it's not even a tenth, finishing the middle set to split then. But through the last bit, it looks like we might have a bit more battery to play with then on this lap. And you can see the time starting to go up slightly into the penultimate corner, flat in none, as we now blast our battery, and you can see up to 2.5 tenths now. Final corner then, darting in 3.5 tenths, but we've gone very wide slightly, and that's cost us some time at the end. But still, an all-round pretty good improvement. Crosses the line, and we're just into the 0.3s to get ourselves P2. But you can see Vanaris up there has done a 0.1, which was a little outside our potential, I think, for this one. As we're dropped to 3rd as we start our final run then. And yeah, we obviously want to do a 0.2. That's what we've been doing throughout practice, as well, it's our last run and chance to do so. So into turn 1 then, time to give it absolutely everything. A little bit better then on the exit, found a bit of time, and yeah, this set to 1 felt pretty good, as look at that, we're up by nearly 800ths as we head into turn 4 and 5 coming up. Quali's done then, this is what's going to count. Took that very nicely on the limit there, to be up by nearly a tenth as we finish the first set to split then. 30.384 into the hairpin, and on the exit, yeah, we are still up by that tenth as we head into the corner that's probably been the biggest time loss and gain, and we exit it slightly down from what we were on the apex, but we carry it on then, still with this time that could still get us on the front row as we exit the left-hander, exactly up by a tenth, finishing the middle set to split. All depends if we have enough battery compared to our second one, Vanaris, 22.0. So he's definitely got pole once again. As we continue on through the right-handers, the time going down slightly, and then with just 2 corners left then, dart it left, blast everything as we head into this final corner, sending it right, but we've run out too wide to the left, and we've actually gone off the track, and we're going to finish our lap off the track. And yeah, that's not the way we wanted to finish our run, but I don't think we were up by enough anyway. Actually, looking back, we actually improved off the track. I thought the game would have disallowed it this and previous lap, but it actually was an improvement overall by 21 thousandths. As you can see, the set times, we have improved. Luckily, it hasn't actually changed our position, otherwise that would have been unfair, and we probably would have needed a restart or something. But luckily, yeah, we would have been third no matter what happened. And yeah, P2 was probably on the cards there. A low 2 or even a midpoint 2 would have been ahead of Tesos, but it's P3, and as we line up on the grid, we're getting ready for the race. The top 2 on mediums, we're starting on the hards, Stelios behind on the softs, and Samuel in the top 5 on the hards as well. So the 5 lights are coming on then, full focus to the race now. Lights out in Qatar, and as expected, we're probably going to get the weakest start of the top 4 being on the hards as Venaris has gotten away. Tesos under pressure from the fast starting Stelios into turn 1 then. We're kind of compromised by the Haas, can't fully maximise our exit, and Stelios round the outside on the softs. It's not really a competition right now to fight him, so he gets ahead, and we're just going to keep behind for now on becoming the lead hard runner as Venaris, Tesos, Stelios, GFO 1, 2, 3, and then it's us ahead of Samuel and his teammate Fire on the mediums. He's had pretty good starts this season, and on the mediums with 2 hard runs ahead of him, one being his teammate. He's certain to get another good one, as we're just going to try our best to try and stick with the top 3 within a second or whatnot, as we're just going to bide our time for the next few laps, try and stick as close as possible, and then we should hopefully start to gain back what we're losing right now. But yeah, we're going to come under pressure from the Ferraris behind. As you can see, they've swapped around, so Fire ahead of Samuel, and that means he's going to be on the back of us real soon. And with only being lap 1, it's been an alright start. Obviously we've lost a place to Stelios, but we've managed to just keep within a second as we pass, about to head into the blue mode detection point. As yeah, just under a second we will get the blue for lap 2. But here I thought it might not be the worst thing ever to lose out to Fire as well, if he can also tag us along for a few laps before his tyres start to go off. But we've blasted all our battery because he was around 6 tenths behind starting the straight, so we'll stay ahead of him for now. But as we cut to the end of lap 2, we are much closer to him, and we haven't got the greatest amount of battery as well. We've lost blue mode now to the top 3, so it might be time for Fire to get ahead. Still going to blast just so we don't lose too much time. But yeah, Fire pulls alongside, and then we actually decide to lift a little because Fire's not fully ahead yet, and we don't want any squabbles into turn 1 that can cost us time. And yeah, maybe we shouldn't have blasted at the start of the straight looking back, but we didn't know Fire would then start to lose a lot of speed as well. But yeah, he's ahead, and he's not too far away from the top 3. We're just keeping within a second of him. Our battery isn't amazing once again, and now we have to watch out for Samuel behind us as well. As you can see, Fire is starting to flash. He's out of battery, and Samuel's closing up on us. So before he makes a move on us, we have to make a move on Fire just to defend our own position, and we actually gain a position from that. So Mercedes versus both Ferraris, as Fire fights it back around the outside. Bit of contact as the hand goes up, but he's back in front, and I didn't really want to overtake Fire. I just wanted to make sure I stay ahead of Samuel, and we go very defensive there just to keep him behind. But yeah, we're in a Ferrari sandwich, and that little scrap is not helping our cause because the top 3 are another second ahead or whatnot now, well over 2 now. So yeah, the plan was to either be first or second in the train, work together with whoever's the other one, not fall too far behind, and third, fourth in the train, etc. And yeah, the battery, it's weird because in practice, even in race practice, the battery wasn't even that much of an issue, but come the actual thing it was. But now we're going to blast past Fire pretty easily now. Seems like he was also struggling for battery, as Samuel is also going to make his way past his teammate, and he's up now into P5. So we can maybe work together with Samuel here, with both of us being on the hard compound tyres, to start closing up to the top 3, as this is give or take the lap now, pretty much where the hards are going to start to come into our own, as we're cutting to the end of lap 6 now. So our tyres should be better now. But once again, we have the battery for this straight, so we are going to try and stay ahead of Samuel. Obviously, if we are going to swap, I want it to be on the straight and not into the corners, as Samuel does look to the inside at turn 1, and we run a bit wide just to make sure there's no contact as we head into turn 2 then. And you can see Tesos has actually pulled away from Stelios there, so Stelios is vulnerable, but so are we, because Samuel is closing up to us and looking to the inside at turn 4, and he's got the move done, and he's ahead of us. Yeah, at the time, I wasn't too happy with that.
I want to catch them, then swap on the straight. Don't mess about and lose time.
But it's racing, you know. He's got the job done, and he's now ahead of us. So it's up to him to now close up to Stelios, and we're going to try and keep with him. He did have pretty good pace, though, at this stage of the race. So we're just biding our time, trying to save our battery. As you can see, Samuel now gets a 3-second time penalty. Obviously, for cutting too many corners, as we're just trying to save our battery behind him under pressure from Fire, who is literally a 10th on our rear as we head through the right-handers. And we can see Stelios 2 seconds, Samuel about 7/10, so Samuel won't get blue mode. We will, and we definitely need it because our battery is still quite low. And well, you see our battery's kind of low, but Samuel is about to start flashing now.
Yeah,
and
see, you're out now.
Well, that move he made on the previous lap, we're just going to take it straight back from him much earlier, and actually on the straight this time before we get to turn 1, and we're back in
Very
front.
smart.
So now we have to try and hunt down Stelios. And this lap, I think I did try and blast as much as I could to try and get within a second of him. You can see it's 1.5 now as we head to the end of the lap, and it's just over 1 second. So we have tried to use everything to get that blue mode. We haven't, and now we're going to leave ourselves very vulnerable to Samuel behind, who will easily get past us. So we let him through, as Fire has lost a bit of time behind us. So we've swapped, and hopefully now Samuel will get blue mode next lap and can overtake Stelios, as it looks like. You can see on the minimap the top 2 are streaking clear, and it was at this point I was starting to think mediums were probably the better tyre to start on. In the past, it has been
mediums,
hard medium that's the much more favourable strategy at Qatar, but when it came to these certain scenarios with the people I was fighting and their pace, I think mediums were probably better. But as we start lap 10, Samuel still behind Stelios, so it looks like he's going to have to try and get him in the corners, because 10 laps with softs, Stelios' tyres are falling off quick. But I was still quite surprised with how well Stelios was able to still defend and fight for this. But we're going to see Samuel then all over the back of that Audi, and we're just going to watch and wait to see if we can pick up any pieces as well. We're about a third of the way done then, and we know the medium and mainly soft runners will be pitting soon. Samuel goes to the inside as we go a bit deep there, but to set ourselves on a good exit. Samuel then switches to the inside now to try and get ahead of Stelios, and with a bit of tyre banging, it looks like he's got the move done, and he's up past the Audi. And now we have to make sure to get past him soon, otherwise we're going to lose some time to Samuel. So we look to the inside after getting a warning, as Stelios hangs it around the outside, and even while we blast on battery, he's back ahead of us. So as long as he blasts and sticks with Samuel, it's not too bad. But yeah, that's our first warning of the race. So just have to be a little careful here on out. But yeah, we're good on battery this lap, and looks like we can use it if Stelios continues to stay out. But I had a feeling this lap he would come into the pits as we exit the final corner. Yep, and he pulls off right, and he will be coming into the pits. So you can see Dan is breathing down our neck right behind us. Kind of came out of nowhere there. We're going to blast our battery, and we're just going to inch just ahead of him to move right to cover off any sort of send on him. But we go a bit deep because of that last second maneuver, as well, we're just going to keep the place. That's the main thing, and we'll keep ahead of the Red Bull and still with Samuel. As we're cutting to the end of lap 12, starting lap 13, Tesos pitted on the previous lap, Venaris is in this lap, and like I said, the whole plan of getting back with Venaris and Tesos kind of out the window now. So now we can afford to fight in the corners as we go to the inside on Samuel, and now we have the inside for turn 2 as well. So we're back in front of the Ferrari, and we lead the Qatar Grand Prix, having not made our pit stop. Fire also into the pit, so we know he's probably going to undercut us with the hards, and when we put the mediums on, we'll try and catch back up to him. At the end of lap 14 then, looks like Samuel's pretty close to us to try and make a move to try and retake the lead of the race, as he's only 2 tenths behind. We're blasting our battery. but he's gaining still in the slipstream as we head into turn 1. Samuel to the inside, and we're going to slightly just try and cut him off, but on the exit we still keep it in none, so Samuel's going to dart to the inside and catch us kind of unaware as he's going to squeeze us out.
Nice.
And we run off wide as soon as we're no longer alongside his rear tyre, as you see
great.
Dan actually followed us, because now he has a 3-second time penalty, as you can see his white arrow going off again into turn 4, so he got it all wrong there. But that's now Samuel and Dan with 3 seconds. So we know we're pretty good on warnings when it comes to most races. So we know we can probably capitalise on those 2 penalties. But lap 16, I thought, yeah, if they're not pitting, I'm going to pit. Might be a lap or two too early. But I want a good gap to them, I guess. And I know I can be quick on the second stint. So we're in the pit lane then. We know we're going to come out behind, obviously, Venaris and Tesos and mainly Stelios and Fire, but we know we can close back up to them. And I was expecting Samuel and Dan to pit the following lap, but no, they actually stayed out one more lap after that. So we definitely could have pitted 1 lap later, but we wanted to not lose too much time and see if we could clear Fire and Stelios quick enough to pull away and hopefully not lose too much time fighting them. But now we have to full push and try and, well, I wanted to go for fastest lap really on the first proper lap we did with the mediums.
So podium,
but yeah, pit stop done, out in 7th, and you can see Fire 2 seconds up the road as we're now moving on to the end of lap 17. Purple middle sector as we're using our battery now. We're in the green, fuel is good, and now it's all out, full push to the end of the race to try and see if we can get this podium back, as Venaris and Tesos are pretty much set for first and second. You can see, yep, Samuel and Dan stayed out again, and they will be in at the end of this lap. So we're getting on with it then, using our mediums as much as possible. We're closing up to Fire, or he's closing up to Stelios, and there you can see Fire now gets a 3-second time penalty. So of the 5 drivers mainly fighting for this podium, only me and Stelios don't have a penalty. So that's really going to help our cause, considering I believe Stelios is on the oldest tyres, pitting I think lap 10 onto 11. Fire was I think 11 onto 12, but now we've caught the pair of them as we finish our lap, and it is going to be the fastest lap of the race, but we are not close enough to Fire, who's not close enough to Stelios. So we're going to continue into the corners then to see if any fighting happens, while Sam and Dan exit the pit lane, and we're all over the back of Fire. And on the power into turn 2 we need a good exit, but we've slightly had a little wobble there, and that's hurt our exit, and we're out of battery, so we're just going to have to stay behind for now and see if we can spy a gap, as Fire will be wary of us, but he'll also want to try and see if he can get Stelios. So we're going to send it late on the brakes, get the turn in early, using our tyres with good traction, good momentum, blast our battery. Fire does move slightly left to defend, but can't do anything of it. We get the inside and we cover off any sort of switchback on the power. We're up into P4 and we've got past Fire. So now we have to try and get past Stelios pretty quickly and make sure we have enough battery to do so. But yeah, we managed to get Fire. Pretty alright move. Didn't know if we really caught him napping or unaware, or maybe he just knew we were going to blast. But either way, we're ahead. You can see Samuel 2.8 behind. I'm sure that gap will start to go down on 2 lap fresher mediums. But yeah, you can see Stelios 6/10 up the road, and we know we pretty much need to get him on this straight, but we are quite far behind him, even with the tyre advantage. If it's a straight line, you're not going to really have that much of an advantage even with better tyres, as yeah, we're not close enough to Stelios heading into turn 1, so we're going to have to try and get him in the corners, as I'm sure in hindsight and whatnot, you want to get past him quick, but also make sure you have a good amount of battery. At the time, I don't think I had a bit of a care about my battery. I just wanted to get past him as soon as possible, as heading into the double right, we're not quite close enough for a move, but we know heading into these next couple corners there is a big opportunity here as we head into the hairpin. Didn't think about sending it, thought about going slightly wide, cutting back left, knowing we have the tyres to get a good exit now and blasting our battery. I knew we were going to get ahead of him as we send it round the outside on the Audi and put the power down, and we're ahead fully around the outside. We're up into P3, and now we have to make sure our battery is good enough to make sure he doesn't come back at us, as Samuel is slowly but surely about to catch this train with Dan. And yeah, you can see our battery 20%, we're in none, trying to save as much as possible, but I'm sure Stelios, who's very good at defending, We knew that from round 1 in Australia, when he kept us at bay for quite a while to the end. And well, we've had quite a few battles with him this season, and as we exit the last corner, it looks like this one will continue, as yeah, our battery is not amazing, and Stelios is still right there for the taking on us, and there's nothing we can really do to defend. Stelios flies back in front, and that was one of the most frustrating things probably to happen to me all season. I couldn't get past Fire and Stelios.
Oh my god.
And pull away, and now I'm back in the clutches of these two with Samuel and Dan not too far behind. And yeah, it's just frustrating, but it's just a skill issue on my half with the battery and whatnot, so that needs improving. But yeah, Stelios back in front, pretty good on battery, I'd say he is. He's able to just use so much on a straight, but at the same time still have enough everywhere else. So yeah, he's doing a good job. And Fire also
so shit
will of course seen all this play out, so he knows he could also try and re-overtake me and Stelios. And on the exit here, we're going to try and blast our battery to get close to him, as we're closing up to the Audi. Looks to the inside, but it's pretty risky here to go on the inside for a move. But Fire on the outside goes for a move, and we got our second warning of the race as Fire capitalizes on an opportunity there. And yeah, it just kind of caught me off guard a little, but now we've lost both our positions that we had a couple laps ago. So we're back where we started then, and Samuel and Dan are pretty much right behind us. So we're in a Ferrari sandwich, all on the back of the Audi. We're blasting our battery, but so is Stelios and Fire in the slipstream. So Fire, who was 5th, will now get himself into 3rd momentarily and goes round the outside of Stelios. A bit wide though, Stelios back in front. They're still wheel to wheel. We can't really do anything about it, but Fire now gets ahead. And on the power, we blast to try and get ahead of Stelios, as Samuel is all over the back of us. Stelios back to the inside on Fire, side by side between the pair of them. Not a bit of contact. Fire, I think, may have even left the track there. I didn't realise that at the time, but yeah, as we look to the inside of Stelios, we're all nose to tail, practically pushing one another through the exit, the hairpin. Samuel is on the rear of us to the left. We go to the right on the inside of Stelios once again, not really going for the move, but making sure we don't lose a position. But Stelios, with a bit of wheel banging, gets back in front, and we managed to stay in front of Samuel because of that. But yeah, it's getting very intense with all 5 of us barely separated by anything.
Oh boy.
And, we have a decent amount of battery as we head into the final sector of the lap. There are 7 laps to go. You can see on the minimap, Venaris, Tesos well and clearly on their way to 1st and 2nd, but there is a big scrap for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, as Fire will exit the last corner then. Stelios flashing, so his battery might not be amazing. I think he did start this lap in the yellow, as he is now flashing, and finally he shows that he's out of battery for once, so we're going to blast and get ahead of him. He goes right, we're going to continue on the left and get ahead of the Audi, as Samuel now fights with Stelios round the outside on him, and down the inside he goes on us, and it looks like he's going to make the move stick on the power. The Ferrari is pretty much ahead of us as we dive into turn 4. It's going to be difficult to try and keep it to the inside, and we can't. Samuel executes a brilliant double move on Stelios and myself, and now it's Ferrari formation in 3rd and 4th, and it's going to be a big struggle. But behind us there was a whole kamikaze show happening between Stelios and Dan as we look to the inside of Samuel, and yeah, Stelios and Dan had a bit of a tussle, I think, for about 4 or 5 corners in a row. Right now you can see Dan ahead of Stelios, but as we head into this left-hander, there is an incident that happened between them. So you can see the yellows, and it actually caused Stelios to give up on the spot and retire. So pretty much into turn 4, Dan and Stelios had a weird contact model incident which sent Dan off, and then into the hairpin I think Stelios went too wide and nearly ran into me, so went off the track. He then rejoined into Dan and hit him, and he had the audacity to stay ahead, so Dan on the corner after the hairpin sent it on Stelios to get back in front, and then the sharp left hand corner, Stelios sent it back on Dan and spun him, and then a second later Stelios spun himself and then gave up, and then Dan's like 7 seconds behind now. But yeah, you can see Samuel ahead of Fire now, and immediately I already knew what this was going to be. Samuel has a 3-second penalty. I don't. And Fire is his teammate. You do the math. As you can see, Fire is fully within his right to do this. But yeah, we're going to fight. And you can see Fire losing the car on the rear there. And I think earlier I mentioned this, but you can see his car just kind of jolts forward and backwards.
What's this lag?
Bit by bit there on the straight. I don't know if it was lag or something, but it was definitely annoying. But yeah, Fire will make that the widest Ferrari possible. You can see Tesos has actually left the session in P2. This was so unfortunate for him, but he's still got a while before us three catch him to get back in the session. We're all over the back of Fire, looking to the inside on the Ferrari, who positions his car perfectly to keep a gap and within the confines. And you can see Samuel's just getting away. Fire goes defensive to the inside. We try a switchback on the Ferrari and on the power, blasting our battery. We're going to try and do what we did to Stelios and go around the outside, but we can't quite do it as well as we're squeezed off slightly there with the Ferrari, and this is just costing us time. Samuel is surely now going to build up that 3-second gap. It's already to 2 seconds, and this is exactly what Fire, I'm sure, would have been manifesting. And well, as you can see, Tesos is back in, but he still needs to take control of his car, and it's just been down to us. We just can't really find a clean and quick way past the Ferrari without him coming back at us because of our battery. And you can see he's just sat in none, waiting, and you can see the gap going up to 2.5 seconds now. But you can see in the minimap, Tesos's AI has pitted him, and while this might be a benefit for us, it's still very unfortunate because obviously, you know, we disconnected last week, we lost a bunch of time. It's very unfair, and yeah, it's very unfair on Tesos as well. But that does mean we are back up into a fight in the podium position. But we have just had a major skill issue at turn 1, going off track there, going too wide around Fire's outside there. But you can see Tesos exiting the pits on softs in P6. We're all over the back of Fire, inside, outside, but we can't really find a way through. And looking back in hindsight, if this wasn't for, you know, a potential higher position and this was it, this was actually a really fun battle. Fighting with Fire here around the outside. He closes us off. We move to the left to try and fight him this time round. We are gonna get ahead of him round the outside, and yeah, that was actually quite fun looking back. At the time, obviously, I was pretty annoyed because ignoring Tesos, we were all fighting for third, and Samuel would have got third and I would have got fourth, but because of Tesos's AI pitting, we are back up to where we thought we were going to fight. But now we know P2 could have even been on the cards if Samuel had not pulled away, and he went off quite a few times. I was wondering how he didn't get a 6, but he obviously backed off enough on sometimes when he left the track. But we're starting the final lap then, and we're out of battery, and we know Fire is not done with us. We're going to stick to the racing line. He's going to go to the inside, and we'll try and hang it round the outside on the Ferrari, still side by side with one of our rivals in the championship. He is second, and I am third, of course, in the standings. We know no matter what really happens, we will beat Fire as long as we don't get our third and final warning. As Samuel ahead just has to make sure he doesn't get his 6th warning, and he will be able to get his best finish of the season, his first podium of the season, and of P2. We haven't finished higher than third all season. We're looking for our third place finish of the season.
That would have been completely my fault.
Yeah, we have a close call there with Fire. In hindsight, it didn't actually seem as bad at the time, but yeah, at the time I generally thought I was going to run into his rear tyre and spin him. So yeah, close call, I guess. But no, there's not really anything left for the rest of the lap. Venaris is about to head around the final corner then to take his 6th win of the season in just the first 7 rounds. And yeah, well done to him on the win, and well done to Samuel on P2. Ferrari are still going to score a pretty good load of points, and well, of this triple night race header in Bahrain, Saudi, and now Qatar. Bahrain was pretty good, first front row, P3. Saudi, the disconnect stopped us from getting around 4th, and here in Qatar, we're back on the podium as we beat Fire on pens. And yeah, if there's one driver between me and Venaris who, you know, is going to take points away from me, I don't mind it being Samuel. After him missing a few races this season, he's not really close to us in the championship, so it's better than being Fire or Dan or whatnot. So yeah, that was the Qatar Grand Prix. Bit of a up and down race, big fight with quite a few drivers, mainly the Ferraris. Bit of a 2v1 a few times. as well as Stelios, I guess being the other guest star in that, and maybe Dan here and there. But yeah, the race was probably lost with the strategy. Should have started on the mediums to stick with the guys ahead. It looked like I just got caught up too much with those behind, mainly with Stelios, with the softs and whatnot. They just managed to pull away in the first stint, and we just ended up costing ourselves too much time with the battles and maybe the pace slightly as well. But the pace on the mediums, at least at the start of the second stint, felt pretty good. I think I got the second or third fastest lap in the end, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, overall, some good fights, some good battles, some good overtakes made on me, as you can see there. But no, some good overtakes as well that we made, like the one on the outside of Stelios into turn, I think it's 8. But yeah, that has concluded the triple night race header of round 5, 6 and 7. P3, P7, P3. I think we maximised all we could in Bahrain. Saudi, I think we could have been around 4th or 3rd without the disconnect. And then today, maybe 2nd was on the cards with Samuel. Well, it definitely was on the cards with Samuel. But still, it's another podium. And we'll still keep trying to push to get better positions. That first P2, maybe even that first win awaits us. But as we begin the European part of the season now, next week in Spain for round 8, we'll see what we can do, as there's some tracks coming up that I quite like. I think I'm pretty alright at. But of course, I think every track, every week is a bit of a new challenge with these new cars and the battery. And yeah, we'll just see how things go. I think so far qualifying may be better than the race, but we're hoping to turn that around a bit as we're trying to score more and more points. But for now, that's been Qatar, and I will see you next week out for the Spanish Grand Prix at Barcelona.